How's it going, replay viewers? My name's Ian Sneed. Welcome to this week's episode of Parapreneurs. I want to thank you guys for being here. Let me pop on my personal one and share this out so that my followers can pop on. What's up, guys? How's it going? What's up, Noel? What's up, Ricky? How's it going, guys? If I don't know your name, hold on. I apologize. Followers. Cool, there you go. All right. That was awkward. I'm putting this down. Anyway, guys, so check this out. What's up? What's up, guys? So check it out. Woo! Calm down, iPad. You're good. So, I have a little notepad and a pen. So, if I want to talk about something, I'm going to write it down. I might pause randomly. Typically, I have music on when I do my scopes, but I'm not going to do that for this show. Oh, yeah, and please do me a favor. Hey, what's up, Ati? Please do me a favor, guys. Share the feed. If you haven't shared yet, swipe up on Android, swipe left or right on your iOS device. Click on share with your followers, share on Facebook, share on Twitter. What's up, Minya? How's it going? What's up, Julia? Thanks for sharing, guys. I appreciate it. If you're new here, welcome. What you're watching is the Parapreneur Show. It's every Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and 7 p.m. GMT. Is that right? Did I get that right? I hope I got that right. I'm not the biggest on time stuff. Anyway, correct. Boom! Look at that. I got it. So, guys, I'm gonna tell you my story about how I went from small-time gangster to self-employed, right? And the whole purpose is to remind people that it's not necessarily how you start. It's how you finish. Because there's people that start as very wealthy individuals and end up broke, right? And then there's people that start very broke and end up very wealthy. You know, in the end, it comes down to who you decide to be, right? Too many people, they let themselves let others tell them who they are, right? And I'm not about that. I'm all about self-empowerment so that you decide who you are, right? So I'll just start talking about my story. I'm gonna be on here for about 40 minutes, right? So at about 11:40, that's when I'm gonna be done. And then we're gonna do an after show, an after party Q&A on Blab. The link is in the bio, so we'll direct you at the end to do that. But yeah, let's just get started. If you guys have any questions, I would say try to save them for the show afterwards. But there may be little things about the story that, I don't know, I might be able to cover here. So, small-time gangster to self-employed. Now, somebody had a vulgar comment. I'm going to try to minimize the vulgarity as I speak. A vulgar comment about what self-employed really means. And self-employed to me means freedom. That's what it means to me. It could mean something else entirely to somebody else. It could mean stress to somebody else. It could mean insecurity to somebody else. It could mean all sorts of crap to somebody else. But to me, it means freedom. And it puts me in control of my life. Now, the reason that's important to me is because there were points in my life where I didn't feel like I was in control, right? Now, I grew up in the area that I'm kind of scoping in now. I grew up to a family, mom and dad and a brother, okay? Now, good word on freedom. Thank you. Now, things were good until my parents split, right? Now, as I grew up, because I had a pretty solid household, all the crap that was going outside of my household wasn't a big deal. See, the time that I grew up, there was a big recession just prior, or just about when I was born, and that led to, as it recovered, that led to very cheap houses in the Inland Empire. So people from LA moved to the Inland Empire because they went from living in a crappy apartment into having a house for the same amount. And also, what they were doing was they were getting their kids away from gangs. But instead, what they did is they brought different gangs. They brought LA gangs to the Inland Empire. And the Inland Empire had their own gangs. So as I grew up seeing this turf battle between LA gangs and IE gangs, right? I didn't take part, mostly because I had a good home. Now, all of my friends when I was little were gangsters. Like, they were either born into it or their family was in it. They always had that influence. But I didn't have that until my parents split. Because when my parents split, my home became very toxic. All right, that's a good word, toxic. Let's call it toxic. Hey, good to see you too, Liz. My home became very toxic. So what I mean by that is there was always fighting. Things were always getting thrown around the house. So I wasn't really safe because one, something could hit me. Two, it led to my mom having a nervous breakdown. Three, my dad became a total. I'm trying to find a pleasant word for. Let's call him a rectal orifice. So yeah, that's what he became. Okay, so so it was bad news, and he began manipulating my brother and I to try to hate my mom. Now, he actually taught me how to manipulate at a very young age. I was a very inquisitive child. So I would ask him questions, and he started telling me, like, oh, it's called manipulation. I'll show you how to do it. Now, he's teaching this to, like, I don't know, an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old. I'm going to take it in. That's children's brains. They learn everything. So I learned very quickly. Hey, good to see you too, man. I learned very quickly how the game worked. And then he taught me how to play chess, and then he merged those two philosophies together, and I learned very quickly how to play chess with people as I could manipulate them around. Now, the good thing about him teaching me this is people can't manipulate me because I can see the tactics. I can see things left and right. So, defensively speaking, that's really good. But when he started manipulating us, I was able to put up that barrier, but my brother wasn't. So my brother ended up hating my mom. When my parents split, he ended up moving with her. That violence in the home drove me to find some sort of safety, and that's where gangs came in. They're like, hey, don't worry, we got your back. You don't want to be home? Stay with us. We'll keep you safe here, and you'll be good. So that's why I turned to gangs, right? Because if I was by myself, one gang would punk me, the other gang would punk me until I chose a side, and then I had all of that support. So that's essentially why I would kind of associate myself with different gangs, depending on where I lived at the time, because I didn't have one location. I was always moving around houses. I think, if I remember right, Tim, you can correct me. I think I'm like 27 years old, and I've lived in 29 different places in my life. Okay, so when I tell you, like, I moved around a lot, like, I didn't have a home. I'm used to a couch and the floor as my bed because there was never enough space. There was, or I was nice enough to share with somebody else, and then I ended up getting kicked off to the couch or on the floor or something. For whatever reason, I never really had a home. So, so on top of that, never having a home, the streets were the only thing that was familiar to me because I knew, like, okay, I got these guys. They're like my brothers. They take care of me, and that's what they were. They were safety. They took care of me. I never really got into any trouble, right? That we didn't really look for. So that's at the young age, right? Before, that's like preteen kind of stuff. But as I got to teenage years, things started getting more serious, and I'll talk about. Let's fast forward to parents split. I was jumped multiple times. I've jumped multiple people. I've been in all sorts of fights, with weapons, without weapons. The first time I used a weapon, I think I was in 6th grade, and we got into this fight, this group of kids, and we had been playing baseball, and I lost the fight. And they split us up, they split us up, and we started walking away. But I went and I grabbed a bat, and I attacked this kid with a bat. Now I was in like 6th grade, and I'm trying to beat this kid with a bat. Like that's how my surroundings were shaping my mentality. Now here's the thing you got to understand: I take complete responsibility for allowing myself to make those decisions. Right? This isn't like a victim. At that point, I did have the victim mentality, but right now I understand that it's only because I had that mentality that I experienced these things. So, back to the story. So there's multiple times where I've been in fights with weapons and fighting somebody when they had a weapon and I didn't. And I remember if we ever got in a fight at school and we didn't have a weapon on us that day, which we typically did, but if we didn't, we would create fist packs so that we could at least hit harder. There was no stopping us when it came to how far we would go to win a fight, honestly. And I remember, and the thing is that these problems followed me for years after. I thought I honestly thought when I was 14, I thought I would be dead or in jail by the time I was 24. So that year that I turned 24, I felt this huge weight come off my shoulders because I thought, holy crap, I made it. I didn't die. I'm not in jail. I actually made it, right? And then that New Year's, I cried. I cried my eyes out because I thought of all of my friends that didn't make it to 24, that didn't make it to that New Year's. I thought of all of my friends that were in jail. I thought of all of my friends that were hiding out from the police. I thought of all of my friends that died, that were murdered. And I mean like murdered. Shootouts with the cops, from other gangs. Like that New Year's was crazy. I bawled, and I remember I was with fraternity brothers, and they saw me as soon as midnight hit. I just started crying, and they're like, "Ian, what's wrong?" Because I never really show that kind of emotion. And they sat me down, and they're like, "Hey, Louisiana, I love Louisiana." Anyway, they sat me down. They're like, "Ian," they're like, "What's wrong?" And I was crying, partly sadness for those people, but at the same time joy that I was still here. It was this mixed feeling thing that, I didn't understand feelings really at that point, but it was this mixed feelings of sadness for them, but also happiness that I was there. And I shared that with them, and I remember, one of them was the guy that recruited me into the fraternity, and the other one, he was just a coworker, and they were both just like, holy shit, like, we had no idea. I'm like, yeah. But I remember just to kind of like drive home the point of the kind of activities I was dealing with. I can't list any of the gangs that I would interact with, but you guys, I'm sure that you guys have seen, at least in the States, there's a show about America's most dangerous gangs. At least 3 of the gangs that I got into fights with or had had issues with have been on that show. Damn, it feels good to be a gangster. I love that song. Anyways, and when I tell people, like, it was some serious stuff. See, I'm trying to cut down on the vulgarity, right? When I tell people some serious stuff, like, that's one way to look at it. But also, there was this one time, we went to a quinceañera, right? So in Hispanic culture, when a woman turns, or when a girl turns 15, she becomes a woman, and we have, like, the celebration. It's like a religious thing, but also it's like a social gathering kind of a thing. It's nice, it's fun. There's a dance, there's food, it's, people. Anyways, at this one quinceañera in this area, my boy, he was a Southsider that had lived up north, right? So they're the minority up there, and he got into a lot of fights. He was a gangster. He was not small time. He was a gangster, let me tell you. Fucking love that guy. It was a group of us, and he was with us, and this old guy, at that point I was 16. This older guy, he was almost 30, started picking on one of my friends, my age, to punk him. He was trying to fight him. He was trying to take him outside to fight him. And so my boy, the gangster, I'm not going to say his name either, he stood up for my friend, and he's like, why don't you mess with someone your own age? Why don't you mess with someone your own size? And that guy's like, what, like you? And the next thing you know, they're throwing it down. I'm pulling them off. Security's got their guns out and pepper spray and everything. And I'm like, calm down, pulling people apart. And that fight, it was bad news, right? But as we're leaving, that guy runs to his car and catches up to where we are. And now we're in an entrance. Like, we're in like a driveway. It's like a long driveway. It's this long driveway, and this car stops. Now it's funny because it was a Mustang, and and right now we kind of make fun of Mustangs for different reasons, but it was this Mustang, and he's like revving his engine, and we'd seen that before. Usually when that happens, the driver, he revs his engine, like try to scare you, and then he comes out, you fight again, and then whatever, you go on your own way. This guy, he's revving on his engine, and there's about 6 of us. This guy, instead of getting out and fighting, which is what we expected, guns it. And literally, we're like in a line for him. It's like he's going bowling for us. And all of us jumped out of the way, but me, where I was, there was this fence on my right side. There was a fence on my right side. I couldn't turn to the left because I was right next to the fence. I couldn't jump to the left to get out of the way because he could easily turn and still get me. I couldn't move back because that's the way he was headed. I couldn't move right because the fence. So I honestly, for a split second, now let me tell you, when you're in a life or death situation, I've been in multiple. In this one, when you're in a life or death situation, time slows down. You realize time doesn't really exist because of how fast your brain works. So I, for a split second, swear the thought went into my head. Looking at the car, I thought, I can Jackie Chan it. Like, that was my honest thought. I can Jackie Chan it. I can, like, run towards the car and jump on and roll, and I'll land like Spider-Man on the other end. And I thought that just real quick, and then this other thought, no, you're stupid. That's not going to work. Jump up. That's your only option. I can't go down to the ground. I could only go up. So I literally jumped up, grabbed onto the top of the fence, which was, like, I barely got my arm up, and then I pulled myself up. I picked my feet up, and the car hits the fence right under me. Like, I look down and see the sparks right under me. And then he swerves off and he goes after another one of my friends who barely jumps out of the way, nicks his knee, but, like, no injury. So we're pissed right now. Here's the thing, is that was on gravel. So when he kind of turned, he kind of spun out a bit and he crashed into a tree. So we're pissed. We're like, all right, that's it. We were trying to be cool about it. One-on-one, keeping it fair, all of that, right? And we're like, no more. Like, he's going down. All 6 of us, this guy, he's going into the hospital. Now that I think about it, I probably shouldn't talk about this story. Anyway, whatever. Bloods or Crips. I'm not going to say nothing, man. You got to understand, when you're asking questions like Bloods or Crips, South Side, North Side, you know, this gang, that gang, saying anything publicly could still lead to somebody being murdered. So I'm not going to say who or what or anything like that, right? So check it out. So we're waiting, all right, and the dust, and we're like so anxious, we're like angry, we're livid, we're like, he just tried to kill us, you know? Like, when you get into that situation, believe me, you want to end that problem. So we're like, he just tried to kill us, like, he's going down, and the dust starts to settle, and we can kind of see like this little light, and we're like, what the hell is that? And we realize he had opened his passenger door, and we're all again standing kind of like in a row, like facing him. And when the dust settles enough to see through it, we notice that he had opened the passenger door and he had his gun out. As soon as, and you can see it again, that split moment where time froze. You could see his eyes right when he sees us, and he like squints down, and almost smirks and starts shooting at us. Are we calling movie? No, starts shooting at us. And the second, and it's crazy because you could see the bullet going through, not the actual bullet, but you could see the trail of the bullet through the dust. And so the second he took that first shot, like we ducked down and all of us yell, run or book it, or, you know, whatever slang we used at that time, but half of us yelled run. So that's what you heard the most. And we turned and we bailed. And, you know, we get to the car, and the car was a little racer car, because that was back before, well, that was probably around when Fast and the Furious got big. But, like, it was legit, like, a nice racer car. So we're getting into the car, and we take off, and my buddy's like, all right, if that fool follows us, we run him into the ditch, because there's this ditch that we were going to drive next to the street with the ditch, so we could run him off the road if we had to and get away. And we see his taillights come out like he's going to chase us, and we hear a bunch of bangs, and he crashes into a tree again. Well, the security had to put him down. That's a horrible way to say it, but they shot him. He ended up in the hospital, critical condition. Everyone there, it turned into a crime scene. Everyone there had to be questioned by the police for I think until 7 in the morning. That happened at like 1:30, and they stayed until 7. Everyone got questioned. It was crazy. Meanwhile, we're all having burritos at a Mexican place in downtown Riverside. Anyway, my buddy that drove that car, he goes, you know how in movies, like, people, they're so scared that they can't put the key in the hole, and they keep dropping the keys, and he goes, I always thought, they're stupid. How do you get so scared that, like, your hand, he goes, but I get it now. He goes, I totally get it now. And like, you got the chills. Did he say burritos? Yes, I did. They were really good. You know, we got the chill, like, I get the chills thinking back to it, because if anything had been a little bit different, one of us would have been dead, without a doubt. And those were my closest guys. Those were actually the guys that got me out of gangs. And even then, it was dangerous. So when I say, like, things were pretty serious as far as my life as a gangster, like I'm serious. Even though I was a small time gangster, I was there for a short period of time. It was a very intense period. Now here's the thing. Um, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And there was a point where I decided I'm making a life change. I'm from Watts, so I can relate. Oh yeah, no, definitely. Watts is intense. My ex girlfriend works out there, and I remember driving through there, and I was like, God damn, this is a rough area. You could just see it, man. You can when you've been in that kind of environment, you can see like, and the thing is, it's not so much you see like anger and all of that, but when you've been there, you understand it's mostly pain. It's mostly pain that those people are going through. It's suffering. And there's so many people that place judgment on them, but I'm like, you know, honestly, you don't understand. Sometimes it's suffering, sometimes it's them just trying to survive. And you can't ever blame anyone for trying to survive. Honestly, you can't. But moving forward, I decided to get out of that. I decided to go to college, right? I decided to start doing good in school because I was the kind of kid I failed. Now, I was smart. I could have gotten straight A's all through high school, but I failed PE. Like, that's the kind of kid I was because of the people I was hanging out with. Well, by my senior year, I had pulled, in that first semester, I had pulled a 4.3 GPA. I was taking a full course load. 4 of the classes were AP classes. I had pre-calculus. I was the captain of the varsity soccer team, and I was working part-time. I say part-time because they were keeping me 2 hours under full-time. And I still pulled a 4.3 GPA. So, you know, I ended up going to college, Cal State Long Beach, became a Phi-Sci. And that story is, we know your potential. and that story is interesting in itself because I was going to start a fraternity from scratch, and then I somehow got led to this organization that was starting a new group on campus. I didn't just rush and join a fraternity. I had looked into them, and I was like, none of these guys have the character that I want to associate with, right? The power of association is powerful, I'm telling you. So if you're part of the Parapreneurs, congratulations. That's a great group to associate with, believe me. Especially after getting to meet so many of them in person. Like, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Any compliments on my beard? Especially after meeting so many of them in person, like, Parapreneurs, guys, I love them. I love you guys. I really do. I appreciate you guys. But the power of association is very, I understood it at that point, right? Because I reflected. I didn't just take those gangster lessons and be like, oh, well, it happened, just get over it. I reflected and I learned and I grew from it. So when I was looking at fraternities, none of them were the kind of people I wanted to associate with. Not that they were bad, they just weren't the kind of people I wanted to associate with. Until I met this group who was starting. They were just starting. So all of these guys were the same kind of people like me. They didn't want to associate with the other fraternities for whatever reason. They wanted to create something new, something unique, something, I'm going to say, a little more inspiring. Now, that organization led me to going from, you know, just a dude that went to college to eventually being a founding father, founding president, the chartering president for the organization. I became IFC president. I became a starting rugby player for Cal State Long Beach. I had my own radio show. I was president of a club called Headstrong. I was also the student relations. I forgot what the term was, but I was the student that was kind of appointed to work with the not NCAA. Student athletes, with the NCAA student athletes board from our campus. I was involved in a lot of different things, and I was taking a full course load with my 2 degrees. One is in kinesiology, the other one is in communication studies, and that's the very expensive piece of paper I got for all of that. You turn it around, Ian. Love it. Yeah, thank you, my man. But let me tell you what's the most beautiful thing about this, right? Is I set the intention to find people that I could associate with that would help me grow as an individual. And those people came about in the form of that fraternity. That fraternity really kind of helped shape me into the person that I am today. I ended up working for them, right? Now, here's the thing. A lot of people, I'm a money alignment coach, for those of you that don't know. So a lot of that deals with helping you take action in the right way, helping you identify weaknesses in certain mindsets that you may have, strengths in different mindsets that you may not have considered. Do I have a mentoring website? Well, you can check out my website, iansneed.com. I'm actually going to talk about something mentoring related in just a minute. But, this fraternity helped shape me in a lot of different ways. And I ended up, oh, here's what I was talking about. So I talk about all those action steps, mindsets, but I also talk about what some people consider spiritual and what other people can consider quantum physics, right? And that's like law of attraction, manifestation, things of that nature. I talk about that a lot because of the nature of what I do. Excuse me. Well, when I tell people I'm able to manifest things in my life, at that point in my life, I was writing in a gratitude journal, like daily. I was very active, doing a lot of different things. And I remember saying, you know what? All right, when I graduate, I want a job that gives me a car, that gives me a phone, that gives me a computer, and that gives me a nice place to live, right? Like, that helps me out with all of that. So, could you be my American bro? Yeah, absolutely. So, check it out. When I graduated, I was recruited to work for my fraternity. I was recruited, and that's in the nonprofit area. I was recruited to work for them by a number of people. It was almost like the universe was saying, Ian, you have to go here, okay? So here's what I got by going to work for them. I got a brand new car. I got a cell phone. I got a laptop. All of that paid for. Anything car expense related, paid for. I got money for food, a food stipend. I got a clothing stipend. On top of that, I had a salary. On top of that, I lived in a mansion. Okay, Google search Laurel Hall, Indiana. That is where I lived. That was my house. It was awesome. It was beautiful. I mean, it's a mansion built in the early 1900s. It's huge. It's crazy. And so on top of that, they paid me to travel around the U.S. Okay, so I got everything I set an intention for before graduating. I got everything that I set an intention for, and the funny thing is, since then, I've continued to grow in different areas. I've continued to expand my knowledge in what I'm doing, because the truth is, we're always a student. You always have to have that student mentality. You should never stop learning, whether it's a new subject or whether it's something that you already are an expert in. You can always learn a little bit more, and doing so will always help you. So since then, I've continued to learn and grow, but I was tired. I honestly, what was tired of, I had to relocate to Indiana, tired of living away from my family, so I decided to come back. And when I came back, I said, okay, I'm gonna count on myself. I'm not gonna count on working for somebody else. I'm gonna count on me. What exactly do you do now? I'm a money alignment coach, right? So I help shift people into lifestyles of abundance by infusing their lives with positivity and upgrading and updating their mindsets and belief systems. In a nutshell, that's exactly what I do now. I do it over coaching. I do it over the phone. I do it over Skype. I do it over... I'm actually starting a mentoring program, which I'll talk about. I got like 10 minutes still. So I decided I would count on myself, right? And this is where I talk about how self-employment to me is freedom, because I can wake up whenever I want. I can go to sleep whenever I want. I can work as long as I want. And the truth is, I like to work, so that's pretty often. I can spend time with my family whenever I want, right? I don't have to worry about vacations. I don't have to worry about somebody telling me whether I have to work the weekend or not, whether I have to have a night shift, a morning shift. You know, I've worked at Starbucks, and I love Starbucks, by the way. Guys, you want to know how much of the Starbucks? I went and got some before I came here. Just to make sure you guys got a good scope. Anyway, you know, I've lived all of that, and I decided I wanted to control my own life. Now, the thing about that is, when you go into self-employment, you recognize your strengths very quickly, but you also recognize your weaknesses very quickly. And there's a number of ways you can go about remedying that situation so that you can be sustainable, right? And in my opinion, I would say if you guys know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, his book Ask Gary Vaynerchuk, I think, I'm listening to it on Audible, and it's freaking brilliant. It's amazing, and I think I'm saying it right. Noel, let me know. If you're considering self-employment, you know, which a lot of people nowadays are calling solopreneur, go get that book, listen to it, listen to what he has to say. Gary V, with 2 E's at the end. That's right, Ask Gary V. That's what it is. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Hey, David, what's up, man? Good to see you. Anyway, because he really has some powerful lessons for people in there. So I decided I would do that. And that's where I'm at right now at this stage of my life. Now, the thing is, I'm not a millionaire yet, but I will be. Right? So the next time I scope, it'll be from small-time gangster to self-made millionaire. Right? After that, it'll be small-time gangster to self-made multimillionaire. Right? Good to see you too, buddy. All right. At some point, let's you guys can cross your fingers. I'm gonna say it's gonna be from small-time gangster to self-made billionaire. Why not? Who's gonna stop me? No one's gonna stop me. The only person that can stop me from reaching the level of success that I want is myself. I've come to recognize, and this is something that I want to drill home, is that I've come to recognize that you are in 100% control of your life. Anyone that tells you otherwise is lying, even if that's you. If you're telling yourself, oh, I can't be successful because of this, and this, those are 6 lies that you're telling yourself, right? Just cut the BS, recognize your strengths, recognize what you have to provide this world with, what value you can share with this world, and go for it. If you want a better lifestyle, no one's stopping you. Literally, no one is stopping you. Don't get me wrong. There might be some hoops you have to jump through. There might be some hurdles and obstacles that you have to overcome. There might be a huge growth process. You guys hear that? A huge growth process that you need to undergo. But no one's stopping you. Right? So, if you want to be a billionaire, go for it. If you want to be a multimillionaire, go for it. If you want to own a yacht, go for it. If you want to own a plane, is Heine on here? If you want to own a plane, go for it. If you want to be a pilot, go for it. If you want to be an engineer or you want to own your own engineering company, go for it. Who's stopping you? The only person stopping you is the only thing stopping you is that voice inside your head that gives you all the BS excuses that end up leading you down the path of, no, it's not the good move. It's not the right move. That's total BS. And yet it's never, ever, ever, ever too late. I like that now. Well, it's not. It's not where you're at right now. It's where you want to be and what you're doing to get there, right? That's why I put it in the title. It's not where you start. It's where you finish. It's not where you start. Right now, where you're starting. If you're to start today, it doesn't matter where you are. The only thing that matters is where you finish. All right? And you get to choose whether you're going to make the best of it or not. I take those lessons that I learned from my gangster days. Oh, and let me tell you guys, I have been run over by a car. Okay? I have been in multiple car accidents. Yeah. I have been shot at, which you guys have heard one of the stories. I have been in fights with knives. I remember one time I'm driving somewhere and I see my homeboy. He's kind of like limping, and I pull over. I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Can I go?" I'm like, "Jump in." So he jumps in my car. I take off. I'm like, "Where am I taking you?" He goes, "This house." I'm like, "Tell me." He goes, "Okay." So he gives me directions and I ask him what happened. He has his hand on his leg, right? He lifts up his hand and I see nothing but blood. I'm like, "What happened?" He goes, "I got stabbed." I'm like, "From a fight?" He goes, "Yeah, cops came. We had to book it." He goes, "If you hadn't picked me up, I'd be headed to jail." I was like, "All right." Well, I dropped him off with the guy that would fix him up, and like that was the lifestyle. And if I had stayed focused on that, there's no way I would be where I am today. No way whatsoever. But because I decided that I would live true to the statement of it's not where you start, it's where you finish, my possibilities are limitless. They're absolutely limitless. Now, just so you guys know, somebody mentioned something about mentoring and coaching. So I'm actually going to be starting a mentoring program soon, right? So anyone that's interested, if you guys, my handle is in the title, right? If you guys tweet me, plans to be the example for my little homies. Good, I like that. If you guys want to learn more about my mentoring program, tweet me, right? Or type in your email here, or email me, info@iansneed.com. If you type in your email here, I'll email you, I'll get a hold of you, I'll tell you what the program is about. But essentially, it's going to help you learn to really take control of your life, right? Learn how to shift your mindset, learn how to create the environment that leads to you attracting the kind of lifestyle that you want instead of you having to chase it. Like, why? At the same time, I also got a second company, this one, Bearded Bosses. It's in its inception stage, but beardedbosses.com is another company that I'm getting going, right? So I have these two things that I'm working on, and then there's a bunch of other projects that I got going. But that's essentially my story from small-time gangster to self-employed. And, my vision is to really kind of help shape help shape the minds of the future to share more positivity and love into this world, to share their purpose into this world, right? To share their brilliance with this world. Hey, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you being here, man. I appreciate it, man. Yes to beards. Yes to beards. And that's my whole purpose. That's what I'm here to do, and I know that without a doubt. Now, in about 9 minutes, we're going to be on Blab, right? So if you guys are free for a Q&A, if you guys have any questions, make sure to look at the profile, click on the link. That'll take you to the Blab, and we're going to be, I think Julia is going to be interviewing me, so I'm excited for that because she's freaking awesome. Everyone share one last time. Yeah, if you guys want to share one last time and we can direct people to go to the Blab, absolutely down for that. And yeah, guys, that's my story in under 40 minutes. Now, the thing is, I didn't go into, I'm starting my own company educating kids using hip-hop music. That's awesome. I like that. Now, I didn't go into all the stuff that I had to deal with my parents, with, the environment that it lived in. But in the end, by the time I was 14, I had lost all my innocence. Like, I had lost all my innocence. And from that point forward, it was just, how am I going to live my life? Am I going to be the kind of person that people are like, oh yeah, Ian, I remember him? Or am I going to be the kind of person that when I walk into a room, they're happy because I'm there? Like, what kind of person am I going to be? And that's kind of the question that I want most of you to think about, is what kind of person are you choosing to be, right? So that's everything I got for you. Thank you guys for being here. If you shared, fantastic. Thank you so much. If you're watching this on replay, you're a trooper. I appreciate it. Make sure to follow. Swipe up on Android, swipe left or right on your iOS device. Click on the bio. Click on follow. Because every week there's a new host talking about their story. And believe me, there's going to be something that resonates with you that can absolutely change your life to be better, right? ThirdRockHipHop.com. Hey, I'm going to write that down. Third Rock. I'm going to go check it out. ThirdRockHipHop.com. See, guys, one thing I learned, always have a pen and pad next to you. Because too bad he didn't save this. I don't know what that is, Tim. So, sorry. All right, guys. Absolutely. So, in 7 minutes, we're going to be on Blab. So, blab.im/parapreneurs. Any Q&As, it will be open for that. I'm going to sign out right now. I'm going to say thank you so much. And, guys, if you haven't already, make the intention right now that today will be the best day ever. Now, here, let me tell you why, okay? If you make today the best day ever, today's the best day of your life, okay? Also, you know that the best is yet to come because tomorrow you're going to do the exact same thing. And when your time comes to, what I say, go home, to pass away or whatever, when your time comes and you're laying on your deathbed, you get to look back at a string of best day evers. And you get to recognize and relive having the best life you could have ever lived, right? So make today, guys, the best day ever, all right? Thanks for coming in. Thanks for the shares. Thanks for the hearts. Thanks for the comments, guys. I'm out. Peace.